I only go to the gym for 3 hours a week, and yet I have a better physique than 99% of guys. And as a result of this physique, I don't even have to try when it comes to girls. I used to spend upwards of 10 hours, sometimes 15 hours a week in the gym sometimes, seriously. And my results at the time were significantly worse. Not better, not the same, but worse. And it's strange because you think that the more work you do in the gym, the better your physique should be. But honestly, with muscle building, with getting a good physique, that's not how it works. Surely you've heard the saying that less is more. And in this situation, less truly is more. There's a lot of guys training in the gym that are sadly misinformed and don't understand how to program correctly to build a good physique. But not only build a good physique, but build it efficiently without wasting loads of time. So that's what I'm going to show you how to do in this video. The training split that built my physique and how you can do it for yourself. Now, I've done every split you can think of: row split, Arnold split, push pull legs, full body, upper lower, and all of these work, right? All of them. But me personally, I do value doing things optimally, doing things efficiently. I'm not going to waste my time when I could do something a better way, which will get me the same result or a better result, like some of them will, which I'll explain. However, saying that, I do think that there's a lot of guys that have a lot of unfulfilled potential in terms of their physique, just due to not knowing how to program, not knowing how to train, training the wrong muscles when it comes to building an attractive physique. And all of these things leave guys looking the same in the gym when they should be progressing. I was making that mistake myself in the gym when I first started, just not knowing how to program. Of course, I didn't know any better, but as soon as I discovered how to train properly, that's when my muscle growth and physique shot through the roof. Now, in terms of the split, again, the upper lower and the full body split, those are going to be the most optimal when it comes to building muscle most efficiently. Now, me personally, I do upper lower, so that's the one I'm going to talk about. But whichever one you prefer, that's the one that you're going to train hardest in, which means you're going to see the best results with. So whichever one fits best with your schedule, with your life, you like better, that's the one that you should be doing. So an upper lower split consists of hitting your upper body muscles in one day, then the next day you hit your lower body muscles, and then you rest, and then you repeat that cycle over and over as consistently as possible. That's the way I schedule it. You can also have 2 rest days in a row on the weekend if you wanted to do a Monday to Friday, but that's just up to you. So it works out that you're training either 4 or 5 days a week sometimes. You don't accumulate any CNS fatigue if you train correctly. You don't accumulate any muscular fatigue to carry into your next session. You have time, you have energy for your social life, so you can actually go and speak to girls instead of spending hours in the gym. It's very good all around. I'll explain how to actually structure it as well. So in your upper body day, the most attractive muscles for a man, right, are the muscles that are going to build a V-taper physique. So that's your lats, your shoulders, your upper chest, and then your abs are going to be important as well, like a show-off muscle, right? So you need to be choosing an exercise for those muscles that I mentioned, and you put them first in your workout. You do those exercises first because you're prioritizing. That's how you prioritize the muscle. You do them first in the workout. You prioritize those attractive muscles, which will start to build you an attractive physique, rather than most guys will train bench press first and then fucking barbell rows. And these things are not very conducive to building a sexy physique. So you choose an exercise, like I said, and you only have to do 2 sets. Just 2 sets is enough to stimulate enough muscle growth and then leave you space to recover as well. So for example, if you wanted to prioritize your lats, you would choose 1 lat exercise, for example, a lat pull down, and you would do 2 sets until failure, 4 and 8 reps in the session. And that's it. That's it for the lats for that session, for your upper day. Then you would move on to your upper chest or your shoulders or whatever it is. Like I mentioned at the start, less is actually more. That goes for both your training split, how many days you're spending a week in the gym, and also what you're actually doing in those sessions. You don't need to bang out 6 sets, 4 different exercises for a muscle. That's going to lead to under recovery. You're not going to recover from that. Both your CNS and your local muscular fatigue is going to be too much, and you'll carry it into the next session. And that's how you get weaker over sessions rather than stronger. I know this because I was getting weaker at the start when I was overtraining every session rather than stronger, which should not be happening whatsoever. That's what happens when you severely overtrain. Every session, you're adding more fatigue on the already pre-existing fatigue, and you get weaker and weaker over time rather than stronger. You don't progressively overloading, you're basically regressively overloading. It's not good. So train heavy, rest 3 minutes between sets. Just a couple sets is more than enough. Now, I'll tell you what I do for my upper day, for example. Well, I'll just go through the format. So I'm prioritizing my shoulders at the moment. So I'll do an overhead pressing exercise, So that's more for the front delts, but the front and side delts are worked in that. Then I'll do a lateral raise for the side delts because I'm prioritizing them. And then I'll do a lat exercise, and then I'll do a upper chest exercise, and then I will do an upper back exercise, and then I will do a rear delt exercise. So that's 6 exercises in total because I'm just doing 1 exercise per muscle. And then that's 2 sets per exercise, 12 sets in total, and then 3 minutes rest in between each. And let's say each actual set takes a minute each. If you add all that together, it's around 45 minutes. 45 minutes in the gym to get very good stimulation of the muscle to grow better for the next 2 or 3 days, right? To grow for the next 2 or 3 days. And then I hit it again and again and again because my split is upper lower rest. And I hit it over and over again like this, staying very consistent. It's very important to stay consistent because you want to train your muscles frequently. And once you do this, honestly, it doesn't, if you've been training suboptimally in the past, right? Once you start training optimally like this, you're going to see how fast you can actually progressively overload. 45 minutes per session, 4 to 5 times a week. That comes to about 3 hours of training a week. People spend 3 hours a day watching Netflix. Honestly, the return on your time investment is ridiculously high. The physique that I've built from training so little, honestly, I feel like I almost don't deserve it. I feel like I should be working more, like most guys spending 10 hours a week, but they get worse results, so it doesn't make sense. If you wanted to cut down your total training time even more, even less than 3 hours a week, you can do that actually, and you can build a better physique than most people from doing that. The way you would do that is by doing full body. Now, you would do full body optimally every other day, or at a minimum 3 times a week, right? So let's say you did it every other day. That means that every 48 hours, you would be doing full body. You know, Monday you do it, then Wednesday you do it, then Friday you do it, Sunday you do it, then Tuesday you do it. You know, every 48 hours, you'd be doing full body, and you'd be doing just 1 set. Yes, just 1 set, hard set, intense until failure. And what that would mean is that you would give an adequate muscle growth stimulus for the next 48 hours. That's around how long muscle protein synthesis takes. And you would be basically stimulating that muscle as soon as it's recovered. Every 2 days, bang, bang, bang. And you would build a better physique doing that, training for literally like an hour and a half a week in the gym, because a session would only take about half an hour. You'd build a better physique than most people doing that. Once you understand the actual physiology behind muscle growth, it honestly becomes really simple. Like, the sessions are so structured and you know you're doing everything optimally, and you see the results much faster, much better, much more potential as well than other people. Now, I will go over my lower day as well. I've mentioned the upper. I always mention the upper, but lower body, you do have to work that as well, because you don't want to have stick legs and then a nice upper body. It really detracts from the whole look. So for the lower body day, I actually do my arms first. So great starts to the lower body day, right? But the reason I do that is because if I put my arms along with the rest of the upper body muscles, which technically they should be, my upper body day would be an hour long, and then my lower body day would only be like half an hour. I don't really like that. I like about 45 minutes each per session. And also, the arms are more of a priority in terms of an attractive physique than the legs are. Legs still need to be trained. That's why there's a lower body day, but the arms are going to kind of, be above them. So I'll do my biceps and triceps first, just 2 sets each, again, for both of those. And then I'll get onto the quads, then the hamstrings, then the adductors. And then I also do my abs last on my lower body day, because my abs are already they're quite developed. So if you want to prioritize them more, then you can do them first in another session or whatever. But for me, that's what I do. There's some muscles that I didn't mention in both the upper and lower body days, and that's just because I don't train them, or I don't directly target them, I should say. So for example, the calves, the forearms, the glutes, the upper traps, the lower chest, the obliques, all of these, for me, well, for an attractive physique, it's not necessary. And I'll explain why. So for example, the calves, they're mostly genetic, more so than other muscles. A lot of people don't know that. The calves and the forearms as well, they're mostly genetic. You can still grow them, you can still train them. So if they are visibly lagging for you, then go ahead and train them. But for me, I'm happy with the size, so I don't care. The glutes, I wouldn't, again, unless they're lagging, like visibly, if your glutes are visibly lagging, then go ahead and train them with hip thrust. But for me, they're not lagging visibly. I think I actually have a big ass, so I don't need to train it anymore, believe me. They are still active when you're doing like Smith machine squats as well, for example. So don't need to isolate really. The upper traps, you don't want to isolate the upper traps. They're active when you're doing upper back exercises. You don't want to isolate them specifically though, like with shrugs, because that's going to cause them to grow, obviously. And you're going to get more of a slope on your shoulders rather than a broad shoulder look, which we want for an attractive physique. The lower chest, everybody who's, you know, comes back to this channel, they know I hate the lower chest, because you're gonna start developing that lower chest. Like if you do decline bench press, the most disgusting exercise in the gym, then you develop your lower chest and it gets like a saggy pec type of look rather than a broad, you know, filled out chest type of look, which is what you want for an attractive physique. And then the obliques is also, you know, the most hated of mine, because it's gonna thicken your waist, which will detract from your shoulder to waist ratio, your V taper that you should have. So yeah, all those muscles I don't train for reasons that I've just mentioned. And obviously just use your own discernment, use your own judgment. If you've got a extremely lagging body part and it's one of those that I mentioned, then go ahead and train it. But for most people, not necessary. In terms of the exercises that you're doing, whether it's compound movement or isolation, it should always be stable. So instead of doing a barbell back squat, which is a free weight, you would do a Smith machine back squat. Instead of doing pull-ups, you would do a lat pull down. That's because these machines coordinate and stabilize the weight for you. If you're doing a free weight and you have to coordinate and stabilize the weight yourself, your body has to do that. Your motor units, and therefore your muscle fibers, have to coordinate the weight, and therefore they cannot reach maximum force output. You cannot simultaneously ask your muscles to coordinate that weight to keep it stable in a solid plane of movement, and then also produce the maximum amount of power that they have. So to put it simply, you will grow less muscle overall. You will grow less muscle doing free weights than if you did machines instead. Honestly, the biggest gym propaganda must be that free weights grow more muscle than machines. I think I used to hear that back in the day. That's absolutely ridiculous. Like I said, once you understand the physiological aspects going on behind muscle growth, it's very simple to see what works and what doesn't. Now, something that you should know so you can actually understand why a full body or upper lower split is better than anything else. Because I do think it's important to understand why you're doing something rather than just do it with no knowledge of why it's actually better in the first place, right? Your muscles are either growing or shrinking at all times. There is no maintenance period. It's either getting larger in size or it's getting smaller in size back to a baseline. The baseline would be however much muscle you can grow from daily activities that stimulate muscles like walking or driving or washing the dishes, right? And obviously looking at other people's physiques, that's not any significant amount of muscle to have, so you should definitely be training in the gym. So the period of time where your muscles are actually growing is going to be almost immediately after your hard sets that stimulate them in the gym for 48 hours. For 48 hours after your workout, let's say, your muscles are actually growing. That's the period where they're increasing in size. And then after that 48 hours is up, they immediately start shrinking. So the way that visible muscle growth actually works is that you've caused over a long period of time more hypertrophy, which means muscle growth, than atrophy, which means muscle loss. So over time, you've got a net positive muscle growth. So for the full body, you'd be stimulating your muscles every 48 hours, which means there's actually no muscle loss, right? There's basically no atrophy. For the upper lower, it's every 72. So there's 24-hour period where you're technically losing muscle, right? But that's fine, because for the upper lower, we're doing 2 sets, which is more of a muscle growth stimulus than 1 set on full body would. You can't really do 2 sets on full body to just grow more muscle, because your CNS would be very fatigued, because you'd be doing like 25 sets in a session, right? It's not going to be optimal. Like I kind of just mentioned, the reason why it's very low volume, like 1 set for full body or 2 sets for upper lower, is for your recovery, for your muscle damage. Muscle damage and CNS recovery as well is a different process from muscle growth. Your muscle growth, your muscle protein synthesis will always take about 48 hours after the workout. But your muscle damage, then therefore your recovery, can take a lot longer depending on how much you do. If you do 8 sets to failure in a workout, let's say you were insane, you did 8 sets to failure in a workout, well, your muscle growth stimulus is still going to be about 48 hours, the muscle protein synthesis, but your muscle damage might take like a week or 10 days instead of 2 or 3 days, right? So your muscles would only grow for about 2 days, and then you would have like another 8 days where you still have to recover. So that's why it's low volume, so that you don't cause a lot of muscle damage, which means you have to recover for longer, which means that your muscles are technically slowly shrinking and shrinking the longer you recover without training them, right? And also quite a big thing, but another thing is that every set you do in a workout to failure is less effective than the one before it. So 1 set is the most effective, the second set is about half as effective as that, the third set half as that, and so on. So the more you do in a session, the less effective the less of a muscle growth stimulus that you actually get from it. In terms of the other things that people would consider to be recovery, your sleep is important, 8 to 10 hours a night, so you can recover your central nervous system well, and also maximize muscle protein synthesis, release growth hormone, testosterone, all of that good stuff. And also your muscle protein synthesis is also affected by the amount of protein that you eat. So 1 gram per pound of body weight of protein, so you can maximize your muscle growth. Once you start training effectively like this, you're going to see how simple building a great physique actually can be. You know, short intense sessions in and out of the gym, few days a week. In my opinion, it's genuinely easy. You don't have to spend 2 hours a day in the gym, 10 hours a week. You don't even have the time or energy to talk to women after that. It's kind of a waste. It's way better to do less and do it right than to do more, a lot more, and do it wrong. Honestly, if you're just gonna start out in the gym, or you just want to try an upper lower split or something like that, just try one set. Even for an upper lower, right? Try one set till failure per muscle, one exercise. Your session will take like literally 20 minutes, right? But I promise you, you'll be shocked at the results, because you'll be shocked how effective simple training can be. Obviously, just doing one set on an upper lower split is not going to be your maximum potential for muscle growth, but just to test it out for a few weeks or whatever, you're going to see progressive overload, and it'll open your eyes to all the junk volume that most guys are doing. Guys will be doing 10 plus sets in the gym per muscle in a session. To me, it's crazy to think about ever going anywhere near something like that now. But a lot of people do that. 3 sets of flies, then 3 sets of dips, then 3 sets of bench press, then 3 sets of push-ups. It's insane. It's not necessary, and it leads to worse results. Like, you get home after a session like that, where you've done 30 sets, and you can't even think straight. You think about eat and sleep, that's it. It honestly has a negative impact to the rest of your life as well, not just the negative impacts on your muscle growth. When you're training with the minimal volume that you need to still be effective, highly effective, and then you get home, your brain works, you're sharp, you feel good every day. You're not so, like, I've not been sore in years. I'm not even joking. In the couple years that I've been training like this, I've not been sore once. I'm saying once. I've not been sore in my normal routine, right? If you take a week or 2 weeks from training, or if you add in a different exercise that you're not used to, then you'll get sore for like the session after, right? But after that, honestly, if you stick to a consistent routine, no soreness, your body feels great, because you're doing a minimal amount, but what it actually needs to grow. You grow for the next couple of days, you stimulate it again, your body gets into a routine, it's just growing muscle consistently, time after time. You stay consistent and you're gonna see the results. That's just how it works. You build that sexy physique slowly but effectively over the months. And this is just in terms of muscle growth, right? Losing body fat is a different process, and that will be a much faster way to drastically change your look in terms of having a sexy physique, right? But that's a different topic. Muscle growth in general is just very slow. Honestly, there's nothing you can do about that. You just stay consistent, and you'll see the small consistent wins, the small consistent progressive overload over time. You stay consistent with your workouts, you go in, train effectively, come out every week, you change your mindset, you fall in love with the process, you kind of forget about your end goal. The end goal will be there to have an amazing physique, right? But you kind of forget about that, and you just fall in love with actually going into the gym and training hard and feeling good, all the endorphins, the dopamine that you get from the session, all of the other positive health benefits, right? And then before you know it, you fall in love with the process, you've trained for a year or 2 years or whatever, you're lean as well, you've got your diet and everything in check, everything else, you're happy, and you've got one of the best physiques in the gym, and girls are staring at you. You go to the beach, you take your shirt off, girls are fucking like, oh my God. It honestly just falls upon you like that. I can't explain it. You just have to experience it for yourself. So yeah, implement the steps I've given you, and you're going to see what I'm talking about. If you want more help, detailed help, guidance from me personally in terms of building an attractive physique, check the top link in the description. That's my community, and I hope you get there.